All right, guys, welcome back to the Blood Brothers YouTube channel. Today we're going to be part 2 of the NDRL Champions interview, and we're going to interview Bob Eaker and the president of NDRL, Butch Hill. If you didn't catch it, part 1, I'll link a card here, and it is with Jackson Mesamore, Robbie Friels, and James Hayes. That was a really interesting one. I loved it. I've gotten some really good feedback about these interviews, and I was wondering if you guys wanted me to do some more. Maybe once a month or once every couple months, I'll find somebody, either Zoom call them, try to meet them in person, and interview them about their cars and their history in racing. I would love to do it. I was wondering if you guys would like to see it. So this is the last part of the interviews, and next week we're going to be putting another video up for the Quest of Tens, where Chris works on the motor. We disassemble the motor and look at things and find some stuff out. And as we're getting ready for the Nova to go a lot faster. So let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and enjoy the interviews. See you at the end. All right, so we're with Bob. We didn't get to Bob Eaker. We didn't get to meet up on Saturday night with the other guys, but I got you on Zoom call this time, and we're going to talk a little bit about your big Pro Gas champion win and all that it entails. But let's first start back in a little bit of the history of you and drag racing and how you got started doing it.
Well, that's been a long time ago. My father took me to the U.S. Nationals when I was a little boy, and I got hooked. And when I got older, the first time I could get an actual to the drag strip was just on a like Tuesday or Wednesday night with a street car. And then about 1980, I bought my first real race car, and it was an old front engine AA fuel dragster.
Wow.
It had been a show car that they had never ran. And interesting story how I bought that. I worked at Allison Transmission, and it was the NCAA finals that year, 1980. I remember that the IU played North Carolina. The score was 63-60. And the reason I know those numbers is because we had a 100 square pool going on at work. And I picked the correct square where 3 and 0 intersected, which was the final score. So it was a $10,000 all win. Now I didn't get all 10,000. Me and 3 other guys had split that square, but I picked the right one. And so with that money, I got on the old trader paper that there used to be out.
Yeah.
And I found an old front engine dragster chassis, and I went and bought it. So we had a small block Chevy engine sitting in the corner, and I had a 350 turbo transmission, and we just started sticking everything together. Mm-hmm. It was not what you would do today, but it's what we had then, and that's how I got my first race car. I've had a lot of race cars since then. I think I've had 3 front engine dragsters, 1 rear engine dragster, a couple of Altereds, and then some door cars. The car I have now.
To go back on the dragster, you went from a street car to front engine dragster.
Yeah.
That had to have been pretty difficult.
Well, you know, when we're younger, we think we're immortal. We're not afraid. And I wasn't afraid at all to stick my butt in there, sitting over the top of a rear end and go down the track. It was not a very fruitful experience at first because we had to learn a lot. There's some things that happened that God was looking over me because I probably could have got killed. But we worked our way through it over the years, and that's kind of how Jerry Wilson and I met. I ended up putting that front engine dragster up for sale. He saw it, came by my house, and that's how we met. He ended up buying it from me, and I ended up buying another one from him later on. But yeah, my first real race car was a front engine dragster.
That's pretty wild. So they get you kind of through the 90s. You had several cars, and into the 2000s. I'm assuming you had some kids throughout all that too?
Yeah, I had 2 children, and by my first marriage, and they're grown. Neither of them race. And then my second marriage, I had a son, and he's the racer of the family.
Okay.
He still races. He's in the Air Force, and he's a pilot, and he races when he's not at the base. And so he races a rear engine dragster.
That's cool.
Happens to be Mia Tedesco's old Danny Nelson shorty car. Does real well with it. He's been going to some of the big bracket meets, and he enjoys bracket racing. I bracket raced for a long time. My home track was IRP, and chased the points for 20 or 30 years doing that. Went into junior dragsters with him for about 9 years, and I did not race during that time. And then once he got into a big car, we shared a car for a while, and then he went off to college and off to the Air Force, and he had his own car, and I ended up getting another car for myself. But yeah, it's been a long journey.
So how did you get involved with NDRL?
Through Rick Burdine. I've been racing Super Comp and with a 1987 O's Forenza, which was an old modified production car. And it had a small block with an automatic in it at that time. And I sent a picture of it to Troy, who was the original first president of NDRL. And because we didn't know if it looked nostalgic enough, and he said, nah, he said, it's not 79 or older, so it doesn't look nostalgic enough. So I talked to my wife, and I said, I need to find a car that I can run in Super Street, Super Comp, Super Gas, and Nostalgia.
Tall bill.
Literally all four classes.
Yeah.
And so we found this wagon in Ohio, and kind of dickered with a guy for a month or so, and then let it go. And he called me back and asked me if I was still interested, and we agreed on a price, went up and looked at it. And I got tickled at my wife because she's not from a racing background. So she didn't know what we were really going to look at per se. And we went up there with the trailer and money, and she said, it's a station wagon. I said, yeah, but you don't understand. It's a 1967 Nova two-door wagon.
Yeah.
They didn't make them. She said, what do you mean they didn't make them? There's one sitting right there. And I said, this car was created.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, I guarantee you, if we buy this car, every race we go to, people will come and look at it, and we'll get a lot of head turns, and there'll be a lot of interest in the car. And that's the way it's been since we've had it.
That's part of the reason I love my truck so much, because it's different, and there's not a lot of people running trucks. I think there's only two of us right now in the NDRL. Mine's still a full body. Gil's is, partially a truck, still a truck. Yeah. But no, I love the fact that you did something different, and it's not just some Camaro, or not something I did getting against Camaros, because they're great too. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of them, so it's really cool you did something different there. How long have you been racing with NDRL?
I got that car in 2013. The first race I went to was the fall finale at Indy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the car would run because I'd never raced it. I knew it was an 8-mile car, and it would run in the 550s, 560s. So I could figure that out and knew it would run in the 8s. So I entered Super Comp with it. And funny story, Jay Hollinger was up in the tower because he was Division III director then. And when I pulled up there, getting close to the burnout box, he called down to one of the guys that works there, the local guys. He said, you might want to ask that guy if he's in the right class, because I'm surrounded by dragsters in Super Comp 890 class.
Yeah.
And so he come over and he says, hey, Jay wants to know if you're in the right class. I said, you tell Jay to watch from the tower.
Yeah.
And so I went like an 862. And so he didn't ask me anymore about whether the car would run that fast. But
so was Super Comp back then the same it is now, where delay boxes and everything like that?
Yeah, same deal. I just ran it out to see what the car would run. I knew it was fast enough to run in Super Comp, and I didn't have a throttle stop or anything on it.
Right.
So I was really just testing.
Gotcha.
But at any rate, I ended up eventually put a throttle stop on it and doing different things. And obviously, when I started racing with the NDRL, I had to change back and forth. I'd have to take the carburetor off.
Get that box out of there.
Pull the delay box out.
Yeah.
Every weekend, it seemed like I was changing back and forth.
Yeah.
But I eventually got it set up with an APD carburetor, the max speed carburetor, which has the throttle stop built into the actual linkage of the carburetor, and I can shut that off. Mechanically. I can do it mechanically, and without the delay box, it won't function anyways. Yeah. So that makes it easier to
change it back and forth.
To do that, change back and forth. But I don't use throttle stop anymore anyways.
Yeah. So that brings us up to 2022, where you've had a pretty successful year. I saw you won at least 2 races. Is that correct?
I did. I won the first race out in St. Louis. Went to Bowling Green and sucked. But in my defense, my father had passed right before the Bowling Green race, and it was a difficult time. Had a lot I was dealing with, and so my mind probably wasn't as focused as it should have been for racing. But racing is an escape sometimes from reality for us.
Absolutely.
And so that it is for me. It's kind of a happy place.
Yeah.
So at any rate, didn't do any good at Bowling Green, and went to the Blue Suede Cruise, and Dad had already passed, and I had a lot of emotion there, and I wanted to win that race in his honor. And we pulled it out of the box and went 9006. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
I've only done that one other time, and that was at Milan a few years back. And we went several 900s at that race. So many that Jason Becker come over and said, dude, if you run another 900 something, I'm going to have to tear the car down to see what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, that would be a real special race, not for just you. I mean, Bill Bader just had lost his dad, and it all kind of came together right then, huh?
It did. It sure did. And it was very special. And so, yeah, that was a good race. I think we had 46 Pro Gas entries at that race.
Yep.
And so that makes quite a few rounds. So with those 2 wins, and then of course Edgewater had rained out, and Indy rained out,
and an oil down.
Yeah. And then I knew going into October, the Bowling Green finals, I knew I was 27 points in the lead. That's 5 rounds and 2 points. Still could be a target.
Yeah.
And I actually was.
Yeah. Sam was right on your heels.
Because Sam was on a run, and he went all the way to the final. Had I not won a couple of rounds, we could have tied, and we had to go to tiebreakers to figure out who the champion would have been.
Yeah.
But I kept my nose to the ground and went 2 rounds, and was able to secure the.
It's a good thing too, because Sam ended up winning that one.
Yes, sir, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
So, I've actually got his car in my shop right now. I'm rewiring it for him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam's awesome. A good guy. That's a neat car.
Yeah, I love anything different. And, granted, there's a lot of those Chevys out there, but, his is different just because it's the burning money car. I mean, it's painted orange, or I guess orange.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool car as well.
It is.
So over all these years that you've had at racing, is there any real key to success? And try to stay away from, all the support of your friends and family, because that's an easy one to say. Is there anything that you could give somebody trying to start out, a little bit of advice of what would be a real big key of your success, at least for this year or over your entire career doing it?
Well, I think one of the things that I've learned, and I taught my son this when he was running juniors, is that you take one round at a time. And every round that you win, you learn something. And if you lose, you learn something.
Absolutely.
Every race you go to, if you do good at, you've learned some things. If you don't do good at, you learn some more things. And you take those things and you try not to make the same mistakes, or try to make the same right calls that you can. But drag racing is very competitive. None of us are in this for money.
No.
My dad, God bless him, he would always say, well, did you do any good? Did you make any money? Well, you're not going to make any money, I guarantee you. unless you're John Force or somebody like that that uses everybody else's sponsorship money for your racing activity, you're not going to make enough money to pay for your racing. Now, there is a caveat. If you go to some of the big money races and you do well, you can pay for some stuff.
Yep.
But most of us race because we love it.
Yep.
And I've always
that Don Gartless quote. If you want to drag race, you gotta love hard work and hate money. I think it's the
something
same.
like that. Or if you want to be a millionaire, start with 2.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll have 1 left.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time, and I haven't done a shameless plug yet, but in all your years of bracket racing, did you ever happen to get one of these guys?
Yeah, I have a few of those.
Did
actually.
you?
Yeah. In the other room, I think I have 3 of those. I have 2 of the what we call willies, which are the well, I'll probably have more than that now. I may have 3 of those. At any rate, yeah, I've got half a dozen so of those. I've got 1 class championship that I got this year, and I also, because my wife is such an integral part of my racing, and she lets me do it without any complaining, even when she has to stay home. I had this made by Code Hard Art for her.
Yeah, that was a really nice thing you did for her. My wife mentioned it to me several times. So
yeah,
if I ever get to where you're at, I probably have to do the same.
Yeah, he makes some really neat stuff, and I got to give him a plug.
Yeah,
he's a nice guy. Tom is his name. He's about 20 years younger than me, but we relate on a lot of levels. And I've only talked to him twice, and we've talked for over an hour each time.
Oh, cool.
About things, just about things in life in general. Sure. But one of the neatest things about drag racing is you meet so many people, and you create a family.
Yeah.
I have a friend that just won the Division III Super Gas Championship. His name's Bob Locke. He went to Vegas at everyone's insistence to try to win the national championship. He didn't do well in Vegas and decided to go ahead and go to California at Pomona.
He's already halfway there or more. Yeah.
If you watch it, it goes all the way. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
He went all the way to the final round. He had to win the final round to win the championship, and he did.
Wow. Talk about pressure.
Yeah. He's a really neat guy. He had cancer, and he overcame that. And he's a very humble guy. And it was really neat to see him win. It was. He said we texted each other, and he said it's a Bob year.
It sounds like it.
I said, yeah, it is indeed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I really appreciate you talking to me, Bob. And again, congratulations on the big win this year. And we look forward to seeing you next year. And I'm going to hopefully get in that top 5 with you.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
This is the first year I get to make every race, because normally the first race is the first weekend of May. And I normally can't make that race because of other obligations. So this is the first time we'll make all of them. And I'm going to hope to give somebody a shot, get a little run at it anyway.
Nothing wrong with that. I need to plug my guys that go with me.
Absolutely.
Dave Stinson was my brother-in-law, and his son, David Allen Stinson. Both of them were at the banquet, and them going with me means a lot to me. It really helps. My wife can't always go because she works still, and she doesn't like me going by myself out of state. And I have, but she doesn't like it. And so Dave and David have been my crew guys, and I couldn't do it without them. So I need to make sure that they understand I really appreciate everything that they do.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. And again, I appreciate you coming and talking with us, and congratulations. And we'll be seeing you next year.
All right. Well, call me when you get ready to put that truck up for sale.
I hear you.
It's a neat truck. I love it.
With Butch Hill.
That's me.
With the Hill Boys.
Hill Boys Speed Shop.
All right. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you come from? Where'd you start drag racing? That type of stuff.
Well, I'm out of St. Louis. I've been drag racing all my life. Matter of fact, I run a Studebaker, 53 Studebaker with a blown Hemi.
It's fast, too. 850?
It's an 850. It'll go 8.
Yeah.
It'll go faster than that, actually. But I run it in the 850 class because it's a little easier on parts.
Sure. Yeah, I
And
tell you,
there's
10-0 is even easier.
I got a 10-0 car too. It's a 39.
You can't. Don't tell my
42.
wife that because I ruined $12,000 of parts last year in the 10-0. But it happens.
Hey, I don't care what you're racing, you can ruin parts at some point.
That's true. That's true.
But the car's been in my family since 1961.
Really? I did not know that.
And as a matter of fact, that's when I was born. And
Even cooler.
Yeah, and it became a race car in '64
Yeah.
with a Hemi.
Yeah.
And
I didn't realize there was so much history.
matter of fact, in the NDRL, it's probably one of the most oldest racing cars that's
Yeah.
racing in this. And
That
it
is
doesn't
cool.
look old. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like it's going 200
Yeah,
miles an hour.
I did not realize there was that much history with it. That
Yeah.
is really cool.
I mean, I'm still running a 727 torque flight.
Yeah.
Foot brake the car.
So it's a Hemi, blown
It's got
Hemi.
a Donovan blown Hemi,
What cubic inch is that?
a 392.
392 Hemi. So
Yeah.
the old style Hemi.
Yeah, old style Hemi, 392, 671 blower,
Yeah.
Hillborn injection.
How many PSI you running on?
On the fuel injection?
Yeah. What kind of booster you running?
Oh,
Yes.
boost on the blower. It's you know when after I get done with a run, it shoots around 16, 18.
Yeah, that's not that crazy.
Well, and I'm not whining it hard.
Yeah, but 850 really don't have to be that crazy, but 16. I mean, I guess it's a little bit larger motor. How much does it weigh?
Car weighs 3,400 pounds.
Holy shit!
Now, dynos at 1,100 horsepower.
Yeah.
It
So you threw me for a loop because I thought it was really light for that type of boost.
no, it's
It just has a
3,400 pounds.
lot of power because of Hemi.
Well, it has a lot of torque,
Because of Hemi.
and the torque is 1-to-1,
Mm,
and that's where you gain with these Hemis.
yeah.
You know, a lot of Chevy motors, Ford motors, doesn't matter. They're all great, but it's hard to get 1-to-1 horsepower to.
Yeah.
You know,
So
torque.
my 421, the 383 I blew up, and then I went to a 421. The 421 is making more horsepower than the 383 boosted at 12 psi or 12 pounds on the. This new motor I only get about 8, but only like 800 horsepower, 700 horsepower. You know, I'm driving a brick wall, and I'm assuming the Studebaker's a little bit better.
Much sleeker.
Yeah, much sleeker than a truck, but still,
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you told me 16 psi on a 392 Hemi, I would expect for an 850 car, I would expect like 1,800 horsepower or 1,500 horsepower or something to get to that speed. That is impressive.
I mean, if I could get, let's just say, 800 pounds off my back,
Hmm. You could really be doing something.
that car runs.
You could lose a little bit right here.
Yeah,
right?
a little bit right here. But if I could get rid of 800 pounds and another 100 pounds here,
Yeah, you'd be doing something.
dude, the car running in the low sevens.
How long have you been with the NDRL?
I've been with the NDRL since it started.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what is that, 12, 13, 14, 15?
12 years.
12 years. 12 years ago.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You've been there from the start.
Yeah.
And this year you started to be the president.
Yeah, I was the vice president for a while, and now I'm the president of the organization and
Right.
helping out and
Right.
doing our thing.
And this is nothing against Dan because he did a great job too. But I mean, things have ran really smooth this year. And I think you did a really good job so far
Thank
of being
you.
president.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see the future. How do you feel like the future is going to be with NDRL?
I think the future is absolutely very good.
Yeah.
And, we've got a lot of great relationships with a lot of great tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Our organization is considered the premier when it comes to nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
NHRA, guys like that use our rules.
Mm-hmm.
They reach out to us to fill the fields.
Mm-hmm.
And be honest with you, when you're looking at a Heritage Series race in the Midwest and NHRA, you're looking at an NDRL race.
Yeah.
And
Let me ask you a question because I know there's a lot of concern that I've seen on YouTube anyway. What is kind of, we obviously, front engine dragsters, that's pretty simple, but Pro Gas is the one I get questions on. What kind of rules does Pro Gas have to run in? What?
no electronics.
No electronics.
I mean, you can run a button on the transmission.
Mhm.
You can run a grid, but nobody really does. Maybe a few people in Pro Gas.
Yeah.
You're one of the few.
Well, I have to for the blower. I know you don't.
You don't have to.
You don't. You
I
don't
run
have to.
I run a grid.
Yeah, you can run a 7AL and then do some boost stuff
Yeah.
down, but it's for me it's a little bit simpler for a grid, and I know a few other guys do.
Well,
you
you're-
don't have to.
You're a lot younger than me. My grid is right here.
Yeah,
And right here.
for sure, for
And
sure.
right here.
There's
Yeah.
a learning curve.
Yeah.
Even going from a 6AL to a 7AL is a huge learning curve.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. So I get that. So what about like car style? Is it pre-72?
79 and
79 below.
and older.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the body has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that,
Whatever.
run what you brung.
So no electronics,
but no
no
fuel
nitrous,
injection, no nitrous,
no
fuel
nitrous,
injection.
no electronic fuel injection.
Right.
That's kind of the rules that I was told to me was no electric fuel injection and no nitrous, which is a huge disadvantage if you're trying to run turbos or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or a big cubic inch nitrous motor. Obviously, you can't run nitrous. Now, big cubic inch motors do really well with Pro Gas, for instance, because they can run 10.0s real good, 850s, 950s, whatever, but no nitrous. So there is a lot of rules, but it makes everybody have the same disadvantage.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So I really love that style of racing. We run index racing. Pro Gas is 10, 950, 9, 850, 8.
Right. Exactly.
Same with Pro Comp. And then we have Pro 750. We have Pro 7.0.
And we've added this year modified production.
Modified production, which I talked about in the last video we had.
And now that car's got to be a shifter car.
Shifter
It's got
car.
to be period correct in the 60s,
is it-
70s, 80s.
Pre-79 as well,
Yes.
but shifter car, so 4-speed, 5-speed, whatever
That's
they
the
want.
10,000 winding up, big launches.
A lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it's a great
And
fun one.
what I love about them is they're never going to run the exact time as they indexed or they bracket because those shifts happen a little bit different each
Every
time.
time.
So as good as you are is only as good as you are because you're never going to be perfect.
And there's a lot more going on inside that car. And sometime you ought to put a couple cameras in there
We are absolutely going to do that.
and capture.
Just see them gearing.
Well, and not only the gearing, what's going on with all the feet.
Mhm.
There's a lot of footwork going on in those cars.
Yeah,
And it's the way it started.
right.
You can kind of look at modified production as what today is Pro Stock.
Okay,
I mean, that's what it was
For
before
sure.
Pro Stock was born.
absolutely.
And those cars still exist and they run with us now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
We're going to do that next year. I assume you have some leads that I can talk to somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
We'll get you
our
covered.
first race next year is going to be Indy.
Indy, exactly.
And that's gonna
19th
be-
and 20th.
That's awesome. So we're going to look forward to that. I mean, we've got a lot of content we're going to have to do, and I'm sure we're going to have some stuff through the NDRL because what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to these guys and then see if they want to just throw some pictures in, throw some videos in, and try to make our channel NDRL friendly. To, give everybody an idea. Somebody that doesn't want to deal with the YouTube channel can have an outlet for showing people what they're doing. So that's what we're going to do this year, and I really appreciate Butch
No problem.
stepping in and talking to us as the president of NDRL. And we look forward to showing you more content next year and through the winter. All right, guys, how cool was that, man? Some really cool guys, some really cool cars, interesting stories. I just love all of it, and I really appreciate Butch and Bob Eaker for taking the time to allow me to interview him, learn about him. So, again, if you guys enjoyed that, make sure you like and down there and comment. Tell me if you want me to do some more. All right, guys. Appreciate it. See you next week.